After the release of the Hanma Baki Son of Ogre TV series on Netflix, Keisuke Itagaki's Hanma-verse is on the buzz. Fascinating characters with deadly fighting skills and aggression that had once fascinated audiences after the release of the Baki the Grappler manga series in 1991 have done the same again after the Netflix release. Those who have been following the manga or even the series are surely familiar with Yujiro Hanma and his sons, Baki Hanma and Jack Hanma. They were top-tier combatants and were known for being gifted fighters with many special moves. In today's video, we'll be talking about the Hanma family members and their abilities. So, without any further delay, let's begin. Before we get into our explanation though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Yuichiro Hanma. Yuichiro Hanma was the father of Yujiro Hanma, aka the Ogre. Yuichiro was a very powerful character with an imposing figure characterized by broad shoulders and a muscular build. Like all Hanma family members, his back appeared like the face of a demon, signifying that he too could use the demon face fighting technique. He was first introduced in the chapter of the Hanma Baki manga series titled Son, Father, and Ellipses. Before Yujiro, he was the first man to take down the entire military of the US with his bare hands, that too by using only one technique known as the dress, and later corrected by his son as guise. After failing to stop Yuichiro's rampage on a small island near Okinawa, Major General James even ordered a nuke on him. All these efforts were in vain, and Yuichiro killed him on the battleship Iowa. Watching the horrifying death of their captain, the remaining 2,000 soldiers ran for their lives. However, with all that ferocity, his nature contrasts from that of his son Yujiro. During the battle between Yujiro and Baki, showcased in the Strongest Father and Child Quarrel Saga, Yuichiro appeared before Baki as an apparition and encouraged his grandson to showcase his bravery. Although the true might of Yuichiro is unknown, he can be considered as strong as Yujiro, if not more so. It has been stated that he was never defeated by anyone. The very sight of him was enough to make the savage caveman warrior, Pickle, tremble in fear. Yuichiro's wife. Yuichiro's wife in her youth was a beautiful girl with long black hair and a joyful nature. However, in 1960, when she gave birth to Yujiro, she was taken by fear after feeling his negative aura. She decided to never have children again and chose to live in a monastery in the mountains. She lived a life with immense guilt, fear, and shame for giving birth to such a monstrous offspring, probably never knowing about the existence of her grandsons, Baki and Jack. She eventually became a monk and became bald. Her name is unknown, and she only appeared in one of the special chapters of the manga series titled The Birth of Hanma Yujiro. Yujiro Hanma. Next, we have the main antagonist of the Baki Hanma franchise and the father of Baki and Jack Hanma, Yujiro Hanma. He's 6'2" and weighed 265 pounds. At the age of 16, Yujiro joined the army and took part in wars to develop his skills as a fighter. He was there during the Vietnam War and also witnessed the Bloody Mary bombardment. There were only 2 survivors, Yujiro and a girl named Jane. Later, when the American soldiers marched down to observe the ruins of the bombardment, Yujiro ambushed General Sam Gary and killed him. He then carved the general's face and placed it over his own to disguise himself. When the soldiers found him, they mistook him for their general and took him to their headquarters for treatment. Once he arrived at the headquarters, he started his rampage, slaughtering the entire army in the middle of the building. More and more troops surrounded the building, and that is when Jane arrived and helped Yujiro escape by causing a massive explosion. As she escorted him through a secret tunnel, Yujiro stated that he knew that she was a Canadian spy of the United Nations named Diane Neal, and she was not helping him escape, but handing him over to the UN soldier waiting at the end of the tunnel. Following this, Yujiro raped her and killed every single UN soldier waiting for him at the end of the tunnel. The Americans later used all their powerful and skilled troops to take him down, but they all failed, following which the entire US government began to fear him. Sometime later, Yujiro met a woman named Emi Akazawa at a posh banquet along with her husband, Eiichi Akazawa. He openly flirted with her, which infuriated her husband, and later, when a Brazilian judoka attempted to fight Yujiro representing Eiichi, he was defeated with a single blow. Yujiro then visited Eiichi's house, killed him before his wife, and made love to her, stating that he wanted her to conceive his baby. Soon, a new child was born, and he was named Baki. Yujiro had a massive flair for fighting and faced numerous opponents in his lifetime. He later went to Africa, where he subdued several wild, ferocious beasts with his bare hands. Emi Akazawa. Emi Akazawa was the mother of Baki Hanma. As mentioned earlier, she was the wife of Eiichi Akazawa before she caught the looks of Yujiro and responded with the same passion. In her early life, she was implied to be a prostitute before becoming married to Eiichi Akazawa, a wealthy businessman and one of the leaders of the Yakuza organization. After their marriage, Eiichi organized a party where Yujiro was also a guest. The moment she saw Yujiro, she began feeling weak for him. When Eiichi noticed this, he slapped her, and in a clash where he dropped champagne on Yujiro, he kissed Emi in front of everybody. Later, Yujiro arrived at his house and killed Eiichi by snapping his neck and made love to Emi. Emi lied to the police about Eiichi's murder and told the members of Eiichi's estate that she was carrying his child, which in reality was Yujiro's. She then took over Eiichi's business and raised Baki. Years later, when the father and son battle took place, she initially supported her love, Yujiro. But later, when Baki was in a bad state, her motherly instincts kicked in. In order to stop Yujiro, she came in between them and punched him, which broke both of her wrists. Emi then spat on Yujiro's face. Yujiro bear hugged her and broke her back and spine, after which she could be seen dying singing a lullaby to Baki. Baki Hanma. Baki Hanma was the son of Yujiro and Emi and was the protagonist of the Baki Hanma franchise. As a child, Baki received elite training thanks to the wealth Emi inherited from Eiichi. He has personal gym trainers and coaches as well. Baki lived with just one purpose, to become a fighter and receive validation from his father, Yujiro. However, Yujiro was harsh towards him and asked him to face him in a fight within a month. Baki trained himself day and night relentlessly. He fought several fighters and trained with them. However, all of that was futile, as in the match against Yujiro, his attacks had no effect on him. During the match, when Yujiro was pummeling the unconscious body of Baki, his mother came in between them, only to be killed by Yujiro. Since the death of his mother, Baki has lived to improve himself and avenge the death of his mother by Yujiro. He fought in numerous battles and tournaments. One was the Maximum Tournament, where he faced his half-brother, Jack Hanma, and defeated him. Baki evolved into one of the best fighters in the series, and as showcased in the Netflix series, he was the only one who came close enough to defeating Pickle. Diane Neal. Diane Neal was the Canadian spy who was once tasked to help the United Nations capture and kill Yujiro Hanma. She met him as Jane during the Vietnam War and pretended to have been awestruck by his fighting skills. She was friendly to him and tried getting intimate, but unbeknownst to her, Yujiro knew about her true identity. However, Yujiro kept her around anyway and never revealed that he knew her true identity as a Canadian spy. When she was about to hand him over to the UN troops, Yujiro revealed this knowledge, following which he raped and forcefully impregnated her. The event left a deep scar on Diane, and 9 months later, she gave birth to a boy whom she named Jack. Following this event, there were not many appearances of her except for one when she arrived at the Maximum Tournament to watch her son fight. Jack Hanma. Jack Hanma was the son of Diane and Yujiro. As he grew old, he began hating his father and wanted to defeat him. It soon turned into an obsession, and he began training at high intensities. The extreme amounts of training had harmful effects on his muscles, but he never gave a second thought about it and continued. At some point, he realized that his body couldn't take it, and he wouldn't ever be able to defeat his father. But, to break despair, he came across a scientist named Dr. John who promised to increase his strength. The scientist gave him a drug named X4, which could amplify his strength and durability exponentially. Just as expected, Jack became addicted to the drug and couldn't get enough. He once participated in the Maximum Tournament in the underground arena. Baki was the contestant, and Yujiro was also present, for which he changed his name to Jack Hammer. Jack had a savage fighting style and defeated several formidable fighters by biting them and tearing away their body parts. Jack revealed his identity in the final round, where he had to face Baki. They fought, and Baki emerged victorious, but Jack's aggression and frustration were not over. His sole purpose was to fight Yujiro, and he challenged him only to be defeated in one blow. Jack's bizarre fighting technique was well observed when he fought Pickle. The two started off by biting each other's faces, in which Pickle tore his skin away. As the battle progressed, he returned the favor and bit off Pickle's ear. Pickle did manage to defeat him, but as he approached to eat him, he sensed something and moved backwards. It was revealed that Jack had programmed his unconscious body to deliver one last blow to anyone trying to harm him from close range. Later, Jack is taken to the hospital, and when he comes to his senses, he goes back to the ring once again to defeat Pickle, but he is easily defeated. He was going to try one more time before Baki made him realize that he had lost. Kozue Matsumoto, Baki's girlfriend. Kozue Matsumoto was the daughter of Kinyo Matsumoto and Baki's schoolmate. She was a pretty girl who was shy and mostly quiet. She made her first appearance in the 10th chapter of the Baki the Grappler manga series, titled Baki's Home. She was shown when Baki returned home after winning the Shinshin Kai karate tournament. She lived with her mother, Kinyuo, who was Baki's landlord and neighbor. She usually fed and took care of Baki's pet, Musashi, during his absence. She cared about Baki and showed concern as to why Baki missed so many classes at school. One day, she noticed Baki leaving in a luxurious car and wondered what sort of life he led. An important scene shown in the anime only is when Baki rescues Kozue from a few thugs. Baki revealed to Kozue his true identity when he noticed her peeping at him while getting into a luxurious car. Baki took her to watch his matches at the Maximum tournament, but it only scared her. The fighter and the brutal fights made her worry deeply about Baki. Before Baki's final match, the two kissed, and later, during the match between Baki and Jack, she was so terrified that she begged Baki to give up the fight and leave. However, her plea was not entertained, and Baki continued the fight. After the tournament, they began dating each other. Although she could not fight, she was a great source of motivation for Baki in the series. After their first sexual encounter, their bond deepened, and Baki emerged to be a stronger version of himself. Kinyuo Matsumoto, Kozue's mother. As mentioned earlier, Kinyuo Matsumoto was the mother of Kozue and Baki's landlord. She was a nice lady who had sympathy for Baki Hanma and also understood his lifestyle quite well. This was partly because her husband and Kozue's father was a martial artist. She was understanding and never complained about Baki's ways of living, which included loud noise and training at odd times. She also never bothered when Baki failed to pay rent on time. Despite her cheerful nature, she hid a considerable amount of sadness and grief within her, mostly due to the passing of her husband. In the anime, there's a scene where she explains to her daughter what Baki hid from her, and also that her late father used to be a martial artist. Taizan Matsumoto, Kozue's father. Taizan Matsumoto was the father of Kozue and husband of Kinyuo. He was once a great martial artist and known for being the undefeated fighter of the underground arena. However, when he met Kinyuo, he decided to retire from fighting and raise his family with her. He opened a ramen restaurant and lived a life of peace until one day, when Yakuza members attacked 9-year-old Mumon Katsuragi for dine and dash. Taizan took young Mumon under his wing and became his father figure. Taizan was still very much detached from the world of fighting, but trained Mumon in martial arts. At some point, Kozue fell seriously ill and needed surgery. The cost was very high, and Taizan decided to fight once more. He participated in the underground fight to earn money, but unfortunately, he was against Ryoku Yanagi, who was known for his poison hand technique. Despite all his efforts, Ryoku lost, but managed to infect Taizan with his poison. Taizan managed to pay for his daughter's surgery, but died due to the poison. He had his final moments with Mumon and died in his arms. Marvelous verdict! So we've finally come to the end of our video, and we hope you liked our content. The Baki Hanma franchise is filled with phenomenal fighters, and you can check a few of the more savage ones in one of our previous videos titled The Top 10 Most Disturbing Fighters from the Baki Hanma Universe. Feel free to leave comments down below and stay tuned for our next marvelous video. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, be safe out there, and thanks for watching.